Recording is on.
Welcome everyone to the DXdao weekly meeting recap version for May 27th, 2021, starting at 1500 UTC time. So we had a great community call on Discord last week. We are still alternating between the two types of general calls, and today we will be going through recaps from the different product teams and the different squad teams across the board. Yeah, we got a lot of things going on, so it'll be good to hear from the different squad leaders. And we usually start with Omen. So if Geronimo is here, could you please give us an update?
Yeah, so we are actually working on several initiatives. One of them is the airdrop, like preparing the whole technical stuff for the airdrop. This is currently in testing. Then I think we're currently shifting a little bit priorities to get the multi-chain bridge released, which means we are going to prepare release as soon as possible. And the bigger feature, which we're already working on for quite a while, is the liquidity rewards feature. And this requires several contract changes on the whole tech stack of Omen, which will need to be audited. And we are in a great process of making the necessary changes on all those contracts. Right. Sky, do you have an update regarding the Omen competition?
Yeah, so we were just talking about this in the DX Biz huddle. What's cool is the Omen competition is live. We've had almost 100 entries for different market ideas. The main issue that we kind of thought about, discovered so far, is that it seems like the audience and the number of people doing entries, like there's, I don't know the exact number, but some people have entered a whole bunch of markets, like 15 or 20 markets, and so the number of actual participants is not a huge number, like maybe less than 10 or so, or maybe less than 15. And so the question is, like, spreading, like, how do we get more people interested in something like this competition? And we've spread it around on social media in a number of places. We're wondering if, like, the fact that it is that this base, the competition's running on DXdao base on XDAI chain, that could be a big drawback. People that do hear about this and they're like, oh, I got some ideas, I can enter it, and then they like get there and it's on XDAI and like they don't have XDAI, so they have to. There is a faucet which Nathan has shared around to get a little bit of XDAI. You only need a tiny bit of XDAI to enter a market choice, but most people still don't have like a very clear understanding of how to interact with and get like their own DAI onto XDAI. And so there is this like process of doing that. And my concern is that you lose a lot of people in that funnel of like people that would enter markets, but then the minute they have to come and use the base and entry competition on XDAI, they turn off, like they turn away. So it's hard to figure out like if that's happening and how it's happening. One way would be to ask community, like ask users. Maybe we do a survey. Yeah, so we're getting a lot of interesting markets, but we're not getting as many participants as we would like. So any ideas that people have and other ways to like figure out why that's happening or how that's happening would be helpful. But yeah, we like at least we're getting some good markets, and then we'll be able to use those markets for on Omen. So that's a recap, but it's a little tricky to understand how to get more people to enter markets.
I think 100 markets or however many is really great. I think it's kind of cool to see all those. It'd be great to see like Omen have just tons of markets, even if there's a small cluster of people creating them, but maybe eventually that grows into more. So I just like to see the number. I was kind of amazed at all of those all through the DXdao base.
What's a little crazy to me is, there'll be other things in the crypto Ethereum space where if you do some little thing, like you could get airdrop $5, like, and you get like hundreds of people from like all around the world, like developed countries, whatever, like doing little tiny things just to get $5 of airdrop. And here's an opportunity to like enter interesting markets and get a share of $10,000. And either people aren't doing it because they're not aware of it, they don't know how to do it, or they just aren't interested in coming up with prediction markets. I'm not exactly sure what the answer is there, but I think a lot of it has to do with awareness, and then the mechanics, I guess. But I agree, it's great to get lots of markets, but it would be awesome if we got 100 people entering markets. So.
Yeah, and you posted something, some plans about liquidity provision for important prediction markets, right? Like the Flipning one, and that's one of that's the main reason why we are putting some priority on releasing the Omni Bridge integration on Omen, which will allow us to like scale up basically all assets which are available on the Omni Bridge will also be able to be used at some point in the future as a deposit asset on Omen, right? And that's the main reason why we're pushing out the Omni Bridge integration, which will allow us, which will Omen make multi-token compatible, and then we can actually then the Omen squad can actually create those very important Flipning markets.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the huge advantages of Omen being an open and permissionless prediction market platform versus a few of the other ones out there where it's very narrow and you can only use one specific collateral token on certain markets. And so I think leaning into the openness and flexibility of Omen is a big advantage that we should continue to spread. And it also is what allows you to do impact markets, potentially futarchy in the future. But yeah, like maybe not everyone's going to want to bet on a market if it's, PNK token as the collateral. But if so, you have the option and the opportunity to. So. Cool. So that was, I think that's a pretty detailed recap of Omen happenings. Next would be Mesa. Martin, we've seen some actions taking place in the IDO space, a few different tests, but yeah, hearing about Mesa progress would be great.
Yeah, so it's not, the stages, I can share some screenshot Adam made. The stage is that it's running on DXdao somehow, but it's not like public. You have to download the front end locally, and then it maybe work, or it's that tomorrow, or Adam is heavily working on this, and it should be ready for tomorrow, maybe, or maybe Monday, that you can make a bid in a like fake sale, and yeah, that's the stage, and I hope that everyone will have a ability to try it out. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening in the IDO space, but yeah, I don't think I can add a few words, but I don't think that's the focus of this call. But
yeah, that's
maybe
true.
there's a question.
I guess just in general, like we are continually monitoring like what is happening in that space, and even when other projects are running IDOs for, you know, from Sushi Swaps Miso to whatever, like there's always learnings from watching what's happening with those, and that is all being factored into like you know, taking that into account and thinking about those to make sure that Mesa at the end of the day will account for those and be like better in general. And so that's, even though that's like a side soft, you know, observing thing, I think it's really useful for Mesa as a product, which is
every week in my Wednesday call, I normally make some small quick research, and then we talk about what's going on in the market. So maybe if anybody is interested in this, he can join this. Because it's what's also important, if you see somebody making a sale, I didn't check Miso right now, a sake sale. Normally in Twitter, then people give feedback, what they think about how it worked out or it didn't work out and all this kind of stuff. And I think this is, either you can make the mistake yourself or you can look how other make mistake. And of course, they have not the same quality of learning, but somehow I guess it's valuable to see how others are doing this. Yeah, I just looked at the other project who was like a competitor to us. It's called Bounce. I already mentioned it, and I looked today, and it's strange. They pivoted into NFT somehow. So I don't know what they are doing. So they changed their way, it looks like, so because it's like hip now, but I still think there's demand for this kind of platforms out there, and if the NFT hype will be over, we will see.
cool. Thanks. Now we move to the fastest growing DEX in the space, especially on DXdao chain, Swapper. Zet, would you like to give an update?
Yeah, let's go, Swapper. So this week we got back the audit for the farming contract for the second time, and everything looks good. We're doing the final tests for the farming, and we're ready to package the Swapper beta release and publish it. So we are very, very close to that. Other than that, we are onboarding a new developer, helping out on the front end. We've been working on the Swapper bridge, and now we're also working on a new navigation / network switcher. It's actually similar to what we have, but just an upgraded one that works a little bit better. We're always doing like improvements on Swapper. That's the major things for Swapper. And then obviously we're working on the Swapper token. I'm working on the airdrops, and we also worked on the interface for claiming the Swapper token, so we can be ready for that. We're preparing as much as possible.
Great. Anything else from anyone else?
Maybe it's a little bit off topic, but in a way it's not, because I think Uniswap now makes a move to Arbitrum. And what do you think about this set? Or it's only Uniswap 3, I guess. Only, version 3. Or
I mean, it's good. I'm expecting everyone to move to Arbitrum. SushiSwap will move there. Uniswap, I mean, everyone will probably do that. We want to be early, even though these big players will be there. We want to be early. We want to be like relevant, useful, and I think I think we could be, even though like they might deploy at the same time, we could be more relevant early on, hopefully.
I would say, yeah, that Uniswap is planning to deploy V3. So in some ways, it's not directly the same thing. I mean, we're still trying to kind of understand what V3 does. My initial impressions is that it's almost like a curve killer. I think there's a ways to go before infrastructure around it catches up with some of the things that people like to use V2 for, like for new tokens and yield farming and that kind of thing. And so I think Swapper is actually positioned fairly well against Uniswap in that regard as we go into the Arbitrum, especially with the new farming feature coming out with beta. SushiSwap, that's a little bit of another story. They're going to be very competitive with that, and they obviously have a bigger ecosystem. But it is a fresh start on a new chain, right? The liquidity is going to be building. It's an experimental chain, so people will expect people to rush in, but it's not going to be like giant moves right away. So I think there will be an opportunity for us to be competitive here. And another thing that I think is interesting that hasn't gotten a lot of attention with Swapper, but was one of the first things we did was adding the ability to change the swap fees on the pairs. I think that becomes more relevant in a layer 2 environment because gas cost is no longer like the overwhelming cost of doing small trades, right? So being able to adjust that fee to be more competitive on certain markets, I think will also be an interesting advantage that Swapper has going into Arbitrum. Basically, I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, I agree, John. One more thing that I actually forgot about Swapper. We forked the Uniswap v2 token list picker and implemented it into Swapper. And currently we're just redesigning it so it fits Swapper. So we'll have a little bit better token list picker. We added ourselves as the default list, the DXdao list, and then you can choose like you choose on Uniswap which token list you wanna use. I think it's a big improvement adding that.
Yeah, I actually played around with the test version. It's like a 5x, 50x improvement in terms of speed. So I think Swapper is making itself ready for Arbitrum speed.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. That's it's all exciting stuff. So next we move to governance product that DXdao is leading the way with. Augusto, do you have anything to say about DXvote?
I gave a demo on this this week developers call, and I'm going to redeploy the smart contracts for DXvote on Rinkeby, Arbitrum Testnet v5, and XDAI. So the idea there is to send funds to all DAOs in every network, at least a bit of fun where we can start playing around and I don't know, do anything. You can even like, for example, try to test swaps on Swapper or I don't know, anything we want. So the idea is to start testing testing DXvote with the contract that we set for audit. And I'm going to be sharing the URL for DXvote app when it's deployed on our channel. The reputation that we are going to use is the one we have on XI. I'm going to take the reputation from XI as a base and do it with that. We are not going to use this as official for testing, so that's it.
So if you deploy DXvote onto XI and you use some reputation mapping, and then we put some money there and we test it, like if we ever then, want to go professional with DXvote on XDAI, is it just like it's a new deployment, and we've seen this with Alchemy, where Alchemy there's like 8 different DXDAOs on Alchemy, but there's like the one working main one that we're using. Are we going to have a similar issue with like multiple DXvotes, or how does the community always make sure to find the correct DXvote on whatever chain it's on?
No, we aren't going to have that issue.
So like
the main
the
thing
reason
here,
the reason this happened on XDAI is because we deployed like many DAOs basically. Because I can't even recall like what was the issue, but there were issues. Like we first did it on like V2 and then V1, and there were some issues with like the rep mapping. So like, each DAO like that is a DAO that we've deployed. So it just shouldn't happen like unless we deploy a bunch of them.
Yeah. So I guess.
Well, that's on our DXvote. Yeah, on DXvote you specify you take only the address from DXdao contracts, which means that DXvote, it consumes all the addresses that all the DXvote instances that were deployed on DXdao contracts repository. So it will take the last one from there. And the XDAI the DXvote XDAI that we are going to deploy is with contracts that we haven't received the audit yet. We just want to start testing around, and with DXvote DApp, that we are pretty sure that the audit is going to go well, because it's the second time that we submit the same contracts with fixes that we already did. So the main idea here is to start testing, and we are not going to use it as official. We are going, when we deploy to XDAI on XDAI and of DXvote version, that's going to have another discussions, because we are going to have to decide which permissions I want to give, how we are going to configure the schemes. So there is a longer discussion that we need to have before deploying on mainnet X. But yeah, the only reason for now is to test DXvote on multiple networks.
Gotcha. And I guess in the future, community members will always be sure, because you will go to dxvote.eth, and the version that is on dxvote.eth is the one that is being used by the DAO. Right? It's like it will only point to the most relevant one.
Yeah, 100%. And the only way that code on dxvote.eth changed by a proposal from the DAO. So it's extremely secure. It's DAO proof, and we are going to have that and a developer version.
Great. Cool. Now we can move to additional squad recaps. Chris, if you would like to give a summary of the governance calls, please.
Yeah, sure. Governance call yesterday. So did a demo of the buyback execution and order placement. So we have executed 3 buyback proposals, and it's a kind of complex way to interact with the Gnosis protocol relayer. So there's a video of how to do that, and I actually just created a little spreadsheet that I will share just in this chat because I'm still working on it, but I think that's a summary of what we've, the kind of current buyback orders and where we're at. So there's been 127.1 DXD acquired across the 3 orders that have been completed. The first order was completed entirely. So it was like an 80 DXD bought with 9.39 WEF. And so the last 2 though are still on the order books. One is filled at 11.6% and the other's at 24.9%. We need to do a little bit more work on educating the community on how this works from the other side too, in terms of Mesa and how you can kind of access these orders. Yeah, and then we talked about mainnet rep claims. So obviously the last couple of months we've been doing worker proposals on XDAI, and that's why we've been doing payments. But that means we've had a big backlog of rep awards that have not been claimed for mainnet, and we want to do that in order for, give the proper distribution, grow rep, and especially as Arbitrum launch comes, we want to have more of that. So I actually submitted a proposal last night that was the first one, I think, of this, that is basically claiming the last 3 months of rep that's been earned, and claiming that on mainnet. And so I invited everyone else to do that over the coming week or so, so that we can get that up to speed. There is a spreadsheet on there that has like estimates for people's mainnet rep awards, so that's already been calculated from their previous XDAI proposals that Ali had put together. We talked a little bit about compensation structure. There's a post, with polls, Melanie is up, and then the DX vote stuff, Augusto talked, and then I think the treasury stuff, Dave will talk about.
Yeah, should I go right away? Okay, I'll just go for it.
I'd count to 10 first.
It's like 6 seconds. You count to 6.
6, that's fine. Yeah, no, on the treasury front, we have a couple proposals currently waiting to pass. So we have 2 that are passing in the next couple of days and 1 last one. So with these last 3, we should be able to fill the treasury diversification version 2, in which we acquired a total of 5 million stable coins. And other than this, an initial DX yield plan has kind of been released on the forum. It's an initial draft, so just trying to get some feedback on that. That will anyhow require multi-core installation to be done, as well as a relayer. So there is some time before we can even do what we outlined there, but it would anyway be great to get some feedback from the community. And lastly, I also had a chat with Augusto today about the rep syncing. So not sure how much this relates exactly to the treasury, but of course, since we have the XDAI move, we have been issuing rep on 2 different sources. And so I'm currently just working back and looking at all the rep ever issued. And then that way we should be able to kind of see how much needs to be issued on which network, and hopefully have a little plan to resolve the issue of rep being out of sync. And that's pretty much all of it from me.
Cool. Since the treasury diversification program is moving, and there's also an approved side program of DX yield, if at least for now, the multi-sig is doing conversions of ETH into, let's say, DAI in the multi-sig in small clips, could it make sense for the multi-sig before sending the DAI back to DXdao to just deposit it into Compound or Aave, and then send the Aave or Compound token back to DXdao instead of just sending DAI back to DXdao?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not a techie, but I guess technically that should be possible, right? As long as the underlying DAI or Compound DAI is sent back to the treasury, technically speaking, right? Anyone want to say something?
I think it would be possible, because I think you could even get in the future where you're paying people in yielding instruments. That there's no why even get DAI? You just get the treasury holds CDAI, and then they send you CDAI. I guess the question is whether we'd want to do this through the multi-sig in the same way that we've used the treasury diversification. And yeah, I don't know. I actually don't have any strong preference. I think we want to get to a future where we're not doing that, but maybe it makes sense because of the opportunity in yield.
Yeah, I mean, it's one extra step that the multi-sig would be doing, just in between the conversion and the sending back to DXdao. You just do a simple deposit into Aave. The issue in general with Compound and Aave, well, at least with Compound tokens, is once you turn it into CDAI and from DAI, the denomination of the token is just super confusing. And so doing proposals and getting paid in CDAI instead of DAI in general is kind of a pain, but this would be mainly on mainnet. So this would be more be for holdings, I think, rather than risk like employees getting paid. I think like workers getting paid, which happening is mainly on XDAI, is like very clear and clean to keep it in DAI and USDC. But the mainnet holdings, for sure, that's where the yield opportunities are. It could make sense to merge those two programs, at least try it out. I don't see any additional signal proposal that would be needed because they're already both approved. Well, depending on what DX yield was approved, how the mechanics of how it was approved, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the only thing is like some allocations are higher than the limits we kind of set for the multi-sig, but of course you could just as you said, if you do it with the swaps anyway, the limits are kind of respected. So I believe there's like in some proposal a 250 ether limit that the multi-sig can hold at any given point. But yeah, that's the only thing. But I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah, we did talk about how if DXDAO's treasury starts using Compound ecosystem, Aave ecosystem, Y-Earn ecosystem, and the tools that ecosystem uses, it makes, and that's good marketing, that's good announcement. That is like great way to like kick off partnerships and things like that, and do more together as two different communities combining. It obviously looks better and is like cooler if it's like the DAO that's doing it itself, right? But DXDAO holding Y-Earn vaults, no matter how it got those vaults, is one thing. It's still, we can still announce that DXDAO is leveraging Y-Earn vaults. Okay, we used the temporary multi-sig to help accomplish that, but it's still a good headline, I think. And so it could be worth trying out.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the one main question would be how long would it really take for the relayer to be deployed after the multi-core installation? Because if we're just talking a week difference, I guess we might as well do it directly through the DAO, because just because it's cooler, right? Like you said, in a way. But if this is going to take a lot longer, yeah, then I think it makes sense to use the multi-sig as a proxy for now. And I have no clue how to install a relay or how any of that works and deploying it, so I don't know timing-wise.
Okay, we can follow up with this topic. Just it's ideas that are floating around DXDAO community, but we can move to we should get through our topics first here. And so next is the DX Biz call on Mondays. Nylon, if you are here, would you like to give a recap?
Yes, I am here. Let me pull it up. So I actually missed like the DX, the Biz huddle. So let me know if there were any updates from that. But generally, we discussed so DXdao squad opportunities, and in that, sort of like the things that are happening, if it's the work token in the Swapper XDAI farming campaign, some ideas around the GNO collaboration, the Chainlink partnership that I think there was a call yesterday, and maybe you guys want to update, and thoughts about like Y-Earn partnership. Other than that, we started discussing about ECC, that it looks like several DXdao members are going to go, and specifically we're now talking about the VC track, basically, like a bit more expensive tickets that could get, I guess, more visibility and deeper connections with the organizers. After that, we talked about a few ideas for Omen and Swapper growth, and this is like active discussion happening. And DX Ventures, Diopolis, basically collaboration or investment, I think it's called, grant, has finalized, and there's a recap article out, and yeah, I think we're going to be starting the I guess starting with the swapper on DXdao liquidity rewards for work tokens. So that's that. Anything else? Any questions?
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. We're doing a DXBiz huddle with the squad Thursday mornings before this call, and we were touching on a lot of these topics as well. The in an interesting progression with Chainlink is with DXDAO is digging deeper on conditional token platform, like a platform that DXDAO itself and other projects should be able to use to really accelerate the idea of like conditional farming. So being able to easily create conditional tokens, using conditional token framework, but outside of like the Omen experience, and settling those conditions, and giving out tokens which are like KPI tokens, like become worth one if a certain parameter is hit. And so there's talk of using Chainlink as one of the Oracle providers to feed the information in to settle those conditions on those like specific conditional tokens. And so that would be an interesting partnership there, and could join the two bring the two communities closer together. So yeah, trying to move forward with that. I guess related, you mentioned DX Ventures a little bit, but related to DX Ventures, a couple different things is there has been some discussion, after our first opportunity that we took advantage with the Opolis, we've seen a few other ones out there. There is a bigger discussion on like learnings of how the DX Ventures process has been working, how it could be improved, how it could fit into DXDAO ecosystem overall, what type of focus what type of things it should focus on. And so there is discussion on, we're thinking about maybe expanding the vision of DX Ventures, and rather than just being what was laid out earlier, which is like funding specific things that DXDAO needs itself, there's like this whole idea of it also becoming almost an incubator, so an arm, an umbrella for DXDAO that allows people that are building projects to not just get some money from DX Ventures in order to do that, but actually like come in and join the umbrella of DXDAO, get all the benefits of the infrastructure and community and people that DXDAO has, and then be able to build and build out what that team is working on, and do that under the umbrella of DXDAO. And so that like how that actually works in terms of the product and ownership, and does DXDAO get part ownership and equity or whatever, that those details aren't figured out. But if that expansion happens for DX Ventures, so it's like becomes like incubator plus like VC arm, there's probably a need for one or two people to really lead and become the heads of that squad within DXDAO. And so recruiting for that position from the ecosystem is probably a need that DXDAO has. And so that kind of ties in with like if DX Ventures shows up as a VC or an expanded arm of DXDAO to like ECC, it could be a good opportunity to like look at a bunch of projects, but then also spread the word about this initiative that DXDAO has, and see if there's people that would like to join and run that effort for DXDAO. And that could be an interesting position for some mid-level or junior people in the general crypto VC space, or even, lots of other types of people as well. So that's like one idea to expand DX Ventures. And so there should be a post on that shortly, and the community can discuss it. Because at this point, it hasn't been, there's no full-time people focused on it. It's kind of running along in the background and on the side, and it's brought some interesting deals into DXdao, but it could be expanded into a much more deeper tool for DXdao, I guess. Yeah. So, and then lastly, we move to marketing and communications. Keenan, if you'd like to give an update.
Yeah, thank you, Sky. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Just knocking on some of the big ticket items in the last 2 weeks here. The communications and marketing multi-sig was created. We put a forum post out yesterday. Still looking for feedback on that before we put through a funding proposal. So go check it out. Excuse me. There's a major Discord overhaul planned, including verification system, role revamps, opt-in notifications, easier ticket system, authorization permissions, format adjustments, and a bunch of other stuff. That's expected to be finalized by the end of the day today. DXdocs is almost in the final stretch here. There's a few more clarity-based issues, such as XDAI mainnet differences, formatting. I also need to translate a couple pages that we have from DXdao.eth right now, but basically finished here. Violet had a couple issues he was struggling with that he posted in the development channel. So if anyone has any extra bandwidth and could take a look at that, that would be fantastic. But it's not a bottleneck for the 1.0 release, which was originally expected for tomorrow. Before I knew I'd be taking a couple days off. Might need a couple more days, but we're basically there. As Sky mentioned, we had another successful community call with an airdrop through POAP delivery. Submitted a proposal to DBank for the DXdao product integration. Also looking into other services such as Zapper in the short term. Regarding the DXdao branding and landing page effort, we had some complications reaching a consensus, and we determined that the landing page was well overdue and a priority. So we have Entre Casa moving forward right now with the landing page update using our current branding, and we'll be evaluating the situation and having a more targeted focus on a branding update in the future. And I guess last but not least here, we onboarded Caden, who's had a large focus on Omen. He's finishing his trial period this week. We also started the onboarding process for Kyle, but he's waiting to have his schedule a bit more consistent before he starts engaging with the proposal. Oh yeah, OX Hack. John had an excellent talk. Thank you very much, John, for attending. We're also planning for future hackathons and events with the multi-sig. And yeah, I think that's the big tickets on our end.
Thanks, Keenan. One other group that's been growing for DXdao, which not to catch them off guard right now, but is like the contributor experience team and all of the things that they've been working on. And so if Melanie, if you're here, if there's anything you wanted to update on, I know you've updated on a few calls this week already, but if there's anything like for the greater community that you wanted to mention, we can add that squad to the recaps as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, an ongoing initiative we've been working on is looking for our next marketing lead. So Chris and I, over the past few weeks, have been talking to a lot of really strong candidates, looking for the next person to really take marketing to the next level here, just as we're launching like all of our new products. In addition to that, Chris did mention that I put out a poll on DAO Talk yesterday because we really want your feedback on our new compensation structure. We're re-examining the current one and would really like your feedback on that. And then, yeah, working with marketing on 0x Hack. Thanks, John, for speaking. And yeah, those are just the major updates for now. But yeah, definitely add me to the agenda.
You just got added to the agenda.
Thanks.
On the forum. Great. So are there any other topics that people were interested in discussing, or new ideas, or anything else? Nope. Boring crypto space.
What happened with ECC and Miami? Did we attend it there? They already happened.
Yeah, you
Are we
missed,
planning to go?
This
you
weekend.
missed them both. They were like huge.
Yeah,
awesome.
I know. I mean, the people that were okay, but the people that were there, was it?
No, they're coming up. So Bitcoin Miami is like, okay, the first big event that's happening in the crypto space post COVID, probably at least in the US. It's the conference is the end of next week, and so next week in Miami, there's a handful of contributors that are going to be there. Even though it's a Bitcoin conference, there's a greater ecosystem showing up. Like a lot of Ethereum people, a lot of crypto people in general. I think it will be a pretty good networking set like week to be there. Yeah, there's might be some DXdao merch that's being made that will show up there. But yeah, the Bitcoin one is probably less interesting than ECC. So ECC we had a great call with the organizers of ECC. That's happening in July in Paris. We have some good plans for a whole set of DXdao contributors to show up and attend. There's a good opportunity for speaking slots and workshop slots. It's a very technical centric event. It's like the focus is technical talks. And so ideally, there are developers working on things within DXdao that as many as possible could probably attend. We have some ideas around different topics. We had like 4 different ideas for topics and workshops that we could try to apply for and run. At the same time, there's this whole like VC sidetrack, which is like the VIP ticket, and the organizers were quite interested in the idea of like a crypto native VC arm, which is DX Ventures, underneath a DAO. And even though they know that's different than like the traditional VCs that show up to these things, they seemed excited about like including DX Ventures and promoting DX Ventures. And actually one of the founders, he heard about that, and he's like, how do I get involved in DXdao and DX Ventures? How do I send deal flow to DX Ventures? How does DX Ventures work and things like that? So we could lean into that and really, it's a more expensive ticket, but it's almost like instead of doing a sponsorship of the conference, it's like buying those tickets is like you helping to fund the conference. You also get insider access to all the virtual decks of all the startups that have been curated to present to those VCs and stuff. So it's an opportunity that we're looking at. But yeah, so I like following both of these events. I think DXdao, and this is a new thing for DXdao, we haven't attended many virtual events or in real life events, but post these events, I think it would be great for attendees of these events to like gather and share notes and connections and learnings and things that can come out of those events, and share those with the greater DXdao community as like a standard practice. And then like, what are the takeaways and follow-ups and learnings that the group has gotten from those events, and make sure that that's spread around the DXdao community. So yeah, Augusto down in Patagonia can know just as much as someone who attended the event. So we should think about that process because we've never had to think about that before. There's never been an event since this community has come together in real life.
Well, we built DXdao in COVID times, right? So everything growth internally and digital and remotely, which is awesome. But yeah, the only thing I can say about those events is that it will be awesome. Anyone who are there, please try to attend. I'm in Patagonia and I cannot attend, and I would love to. But for everyone that is in Europe, I try to find a way to get there. I think Melanie was doing that, was trying to help every. She mentioned me to that I should go to Paris, right? But I'm in Patagonia, so I'm gonna go talk with talk with Melanie and encourage everyone to go there and meet. It will be awesome. Yeah, it will help us a lot, as an organization to know each other personally. And yeah, we are going to take a lot from that event. And it will be awesome in the future to start talking about, I know, like DXdao gathering, like meetup or an event or anyone or retirement, anything that we can do to meet and plan what we are going to do in person as an organization in a public way, right? So
yeah. So what's really interesting is, of all the communities that have started up in the last year during COVID times, right? Some are like DXdao, I would say most people are public, right? Are not anonymous, right? And our names are often our handles and things like that. Versus like Sushi, for example, or even like Y-Earn community and many other communities out there are like fully anonymous and like they know each other's handles, but they don't know the people, right? And no one's met in real life. And I'm interested to see, like at ECC, when everyone shows up there, like DXdao people are known and will be able to meet together in real life and discuss ideas and things. And I'm not sure that can happen in these like other anonymous communities where like there's just a Discord handle dude and like when they're not going to even know how to find each other in real life, right? And how, like, are they going to be able to talk to each other and talk about ideas in real life? I don't know if they are. So it'll be pretty interesting to watch.
And maybe some people, they don't want to, right? They don't want that. But in the community that we are building here and the type of organization, trust, I think we are pursuing a trust that goes in a more personal, where I think everyone here would like to know one person is the other colleagues. That I think that's a community that, at least what I feel here, that if anyone here is going to ECC, one will be to meet other DXdao personally and talk about how crazy it is to work for DXdao, right? Because this is like pretty hardcore and anarchist and decentralized.
Great.
So yeah, if you can go.
That's a good way to end the call. Thanks everyone for joining. If you're listening to this, come reach out, join the community.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.